Hi, this is an exam revision video for Cutting Edge Pre-Intermediate Unit 8. In this unit, the grammar we studied was using articles, and we studied quantifiers with countable and uncountable nouns, and the vocabulary we did was city life and geographical features. So let's look at city life first of all. What better city to use as an example than Dubai, one of the finest cities in the world. So we're going to look at these pictures to help understand some things in the city. They more or less fit into transport, places, and green things. Green doesn't necessarily mean the color, it means that it's eco-friendly, it helps the environment. So transport. Here we have a cycle lane. We have one-way street. There's no picture for one-way street, but it's a street with just one direction. Public transport. Public means for the people. So transport for the people, like a bus, train, metro, taxi. Traffic. Traffic congestion. Congestion means when there's a lot of traffic together. It means things all put together. Traffic lights. Then let's look at places. So we have city centre. In Dubai there's a shopping mall called city centre, but it actually means the middle of the city. So where most of the people, most of the business is. This is the city centre. High-rise apartment blocks. In Dubai you have lots of high-rise apartment blocks. You can also call them skyscrapers because they touch the sky. Residential area, so where you have a lot of villas, a lot of houses, it's a lot quieter, parks maybe. And then we have shopping mall. Then the green words of the city, you can have carbon neutral. Now this is difficult to provide a picture for, but carbon is something that comes from gas and when we burn things, and when we say neutral it means that it's balanced, it's even. So when we say carbon neutral it means that yes, we still have cars and engines and petrol, but we do things to make it balanced in the city. And so a green city like this, and Masdar city in Abu Dhabi is the example of this. A green space, I'm going to use the same thing, a place in the city where it's green, so like a park. Pedestrian zone, this is what we have in this picture, where there are no cars but people can walk around in the middle. And then recycling bins, recycling, not for cycling, it's for places where we can reuse the things like paper, plastic and metal by putting them in separate places. Okay, so this is all the language we have for city life. Try to remember the spelling, remember the pronunciation I used. Now the grammar using articles. What is article? Article in grammar means two words or three. A, an, or the. So people often make these mistakes because they often are different in different languages. You might not use them in your language, so you find they're an easy mistake to make. So let's look at a or an. A is for nouns and an is when it begins with an open mouth, like apple, an apple. We use a or an for the first time you say something. So when you're telling a story, the first time you say it, you would use a. I went to a cafe and I had an orange juice. So this one is an because of the open sound here, orange juice. And it's when I'm talking about the cafe, it's the first time I say it. So a cafe, an orange juice. The is we use the for the next time you say something. So if we're going to talk about the same orange juice, the orange juice was too expensive, so I will never go to the same cafe again. So this time, you know the orange juice is the same orange juice, and you know the cafe is the same. So this time I use the. Other times we use the is when it's a specific person. So the teacher is writing on the whiteboard, Usually there's only one teacher in the classroom, so you're referring to that teacher, the specific person. When there is only one, there are more than one teacher in the world, but there is only one sun. The sun is shining today. So when it's one thing, the sun, the moon, the earth, we refer to it as the. When it's a superlative, do you remember studying superlatives? When we say the best, the biggest, we use the. So you could say Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world, the. And the world, because there's only one world. Geography. Now geography will appear again in this, but for some types of geography we also use the. So when it's a gulf or a sea or an ocean, we say the Arabian Gulf. Khalij al-Arabi this is. When it's a river, we say the Amazon River. When it's a mountain range, the Himalayas, the range of mountains. And the United Arab Emirates. Now not all countries are the, but some countries are. The USA, the United Kingdom. And then we have some phrases that always use the. At the bottom, at the top. In the north, in the south. In the middle, in the morning, on the left, on the coast. So these are phrases that use the. Okay, so try to remember when we use a, an, and the. Now, this line here doesn't mean a minus, it just means when we don't use a, an, or the. So this is no article, or zero article they call it. So when we're talking about people in general, or things in general, malls are good places to meet your friends. We're not talking about one specific mall, we're talking about general malls. Malls are good places to meet your friends. When we're saying to name, some languages they say the Ahmed and the Khalid, but in English we just say Ahmed and Khalid are coming here. Nationalities. So when we're referring to a group of people, we would say, we don't need to say the. Jordanian people are very friendly. Now this is geography again. Remember I talked about geography here for the. When it was seas, rivers, mountain ranges and countries. Now for no article, Africa. So when it's a continent, we don't use the. Cities like Dubai, we don't use the. Mount Everest. Now this is complicated because the mountain, we don't use it, but for the range of mountains, we use it. For roads, Sheikh Zayed Road doesn't need the. Some countries, like, well, actually most countries, Oman, China, India, doesn't need the. Lakes don't need the. So when you have a river, it's the, and when you have a lake, it's no the. And islands don't have the. Cerbanius Island, for example. And phrases that don't use the: at home, at school, at university, at work. These places are common places, we don't use the. At night, in bed, in prison, in hospital, and on holiday. Okay, so these are all the ways we use a and the, but also when we don't use it. So try to remember these for your speaking and for your writing, because it's one of those small mistakes that sounds quite big to a native speaker, so try to get used to saying these correctly. Now we'll look at geographical features. So I've used some already in some of my examples, but let's look at them again. So we have, I'm going to split these into two groups: land. So land is places where we can walk, and then we have water and land together. So when there's water with land together, what are these called? So let's look at land first. Just switch over here. Here are examples. Take a look at the pictures. So we have desert, forest, hill, mountain. So a hill is smaller than a mountain. Mountain range, so when it's a lot of mountains together. And valley. So this is when you the space in between two mountains usually. Then when we have water and land together, these are examples of water and land together. So we have the beach, the coast. Dubai has a very famous coast. Island. I think this is Sibanius Island again. Notice that we put an S in island, but we don't speak the S. We say island, not Iceland. It's a country. Then we have a river, and then the bottom one could be both ocean or sea. An ocean is a very big sea that we have 5 or 6 of them in the world. Okay, so these are all the vocabulary related to land and geographical features. And the last grammar point was quantifiers with countable and uncountable nouns. So this has come up in previous units that you've studied, and it's something that is quite difficult to understand, but let's go through it again. So countable and uncountable. So countable are quite simple, things that we can count, and uncountable, things that we can't count. So the example for countable is car, and if you have more than one or plural, we say cars. A building, more than one, buildings. And then for some things like a person, I am a person. More than one person is people, it's not persons. And then for uncountable, water. You cannot count water. You can't get water and count it. You can count the bottle or the cup, but you can't count the actual water. Money. Now money is uncountable as well. You can count the individual dirhams, but not money in general. And traffic. It's usually too big to be able to count the individual cars, and each car is a different size and things like that, so you can't count traffic. So this is countable and uncountable. Now what we're looking at here are quantifiers. These are words that go together with the countable and uncountable to make them more clear. So again, we're going to use Dubai as our example for some of these sentences. So here we have some quantifiers in this column here. Some, not any, no, a lot of, and enough. These go together with plural nouns and uncountable nouns, so they go with anything. There are some rivers in Dubai, kind of. There aren't any mountains in Dubai. There may be some in Hatta, but I'm talking about Dubai city. There are no mountains in Dubai. This is the same thing, but notice this one we put there are no, there aren't any. There are a lot of buildings in Dubai. There are enough petrol stations in Dubai. There aren't enough roads in Dubai. So for enough, this means that enough means we have as many as we need, and not enough means we need more. So, and notice the spelling. We pronounce it with a f, but we spell it with a GH, enough. Then we have plural nouns. So these are countable nouns like cars, people, buildings. There are many people in Dubai. This is a good thing. You just say, there are many people in Dubai. There are too many cars in Dubai. When we put too with many, it's a bad thing. Be careful with this, because I hear this a lot. People use too many to describe a lot. It's not correct. Too many is a bad thing. There are a few beaches in Dubai. Few just means 3, 4, something like this. And then for uncountable nouns, things we can't count, we can say there is not much rain in Dubai. We can't count rain. And there is too much traffic in Dubai. Again, same like too many. This is a bad thing. So try to remember these quantifiers. And then finally, I just wanted to go over some and any. You will have studied this before, but I need some money means I'm not going to say how much money I need. It's just not an exact number. Did you buy some clothes? When we use some in a question, we think the answer will be yes. We expect yes. Any is for negative. There aren't any mountains in Dubai. There are no mountains in Dubai. We've talked about this. And we also use it for questions. Are there any mountains in Dubai? This is when we don't know if the answer is yes or no. You might not know. Okay, so these are the quantifiers with countable and uncountable nouns. Try to get your head around some of these. So the grammar we studied in this unit was using articles, quantifiers with countable and uncountable nouns, city life and geographical features. This kind of language is really useful for your writing, especially in your MSAT, because they often ask you to describe places. So to be able to describe the city that you live in, the country that you live in with the correct quantifiers is quite an important skill. Okay, thank you.